Welcome to the Masters of Wellness podcast channel. Join us on a transformative journey as we explore the intersection of health, well-being, and global perspectives. Each episode delves into holistic approaches that combine Eastern wisdom with Western science, offering actionable insights to enhance your mind, body, and spirit. Hosted by wellness experts Edward and Chuck and inspiring international guests, we discuss topics ranging from mindfulness and nutrition to fitness, innovation, and business. Whether you're a wellness professional, enthusiast, or someone seeking to improve your lifestyle, you'll find valuable takeaways here. Subscribe now and be part of a thriving community dedicated to creating a healthier, more balanced world. Let's grow together, one conversation at a time. New episodes every week.
And welcome back, everyone. Once again, Chuck, great to see you again. Just a reminder, visit our YouTube channel. It's Masters of Wellness, really easy to find. On our channel, you can discover the transformative fusion of Eastern wisdom and Western science to elevate your journey towards holistic health, wellness, and success. Our channel is your ultimate resource for mindfulness practices, evidence-based fitness tips, and cutting-edge wellness trends that inspire balance in mind, body, and spirit. And along the way, we're also sharing some of our personal stories of our journey with wellness. And that brings us to Chuck. Chuck, it's been 10 days approximately since your second cancer surgery for cancer in the thyroid. You are looking extremely well. Like last time you had the ice pack on your neck there. For those of you that didn't see, just have a look at our previous episode. You'll see Chuck there, fresh out of hospital and still with his ice pack there, recovering from surgery. Chuck, it looks like you're completely well on your way to recovery. So tell us about how you're going.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. I do feel amazing. It has been a different recovery process and, dare I say, a much more enjoyable recovery process compared to the last time. And I attribute a lot of that to mindset, but of course it was much less evasive surgery than the first, which I'm grateful for. So, yeah.
And Chuck, I know that the doctors, they give you typical advice to keep things safe, what you should and should not be doing after a surgery like this. The first time around, I believe you listened to them very strictly, followed all the orders. But this time, I think I've noticed on your social media, you're doing some things that are a little bit out of the ordinary. Tell us about some of those things that you've been up to over the last 10 days.
Yep, my doctor said rest after surgery, and I went to baseball games. I went to a Himalayan salt cave, which was resting. I went to get a ionic foot detox. I went to a magic show from Justin Willman. I don't know if you've ever seen him before, but he's the Netflix guy that does the Magic for Humans. It was amazing.
Oh, wow.
So I got to hang out with a lot of my friends that are in the Tampa Bay area and had a great time and focused mostly on trying to enjoy myself and be in a really great mental state. Physically, I was fine, and I wanted to continue to keep staying mentally sharp by doing things that were enjoyable. And I did not want to lay around in bed and watch Netflix and watch TV and mope around and just really sit in what was going on. I was fine with what was going on. I'm past what's going on. But those moments of quietness are good, but it's also not going to be helpful for me or for most people if the moment of quietness is going to lead to the thoughts that you don't want, which is, why me? Or is it going to come back? And the fears, right? Like, I've done so much work on my mind and have read so many books and continue to keep inputting information that's helping me eliminate those thoughts, but those thoughts do come up. So it was about putting myself in those environments that were going to prevent any of those negative energy thoughts to come up.
Okay. Is it would you say it's more of a distraction, or is it more like chicken soup for the soul to be doing things that make you feel happy and sort of, like everything's okay?
It was a welcome distraction, but welcome distraction with chicken soup.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like thinking about the baseball game, I got to check off a bucket list. So I'm thankful and grateful, and gratitude is one of the best energy to be in, as we learned from Aaron, right? So I was very grateful to be able to go an hour and a half south I believe. I think it was south. And go to Sarasota, Florida at Ed Smith Stadium and watch my Orioles in a spring training game. We got great seats. The prices were perfect. It was really awesome. So I got to check off the bucket list of something I've been wanting to do for a long, long time. Just never really blocked it off in the calendar to go fly to Florida to go to a spring training game. I was right there, and they were playing the next day after our recording. No, actually, believe it or not, I left that recording last time and I went straight to the game. So it was the same day. Yeah, it's the exact day after surgery. And then, more soup for the soul, to your point, would be the salt cave. I don't know if you've ever been to a Himalayan salt cave.
Yeah, yeah.
If you check out my my social media pages, I'll give a shout out to the amazing Ocean Air place that we went to. Did a nice video of the facilities, and that's where they also had the ionic foot detox place. It was super relaxing. It was 45 minutes in this amazing Himalayan salt cave to detox my body. Exactly what I needed and wanted and would have done before or after surgery regardless. Then leaving that and going into the ionic foot detox and learning about the energy that leaves your body and can be detoxed through your feet through these, I don't even know what they're called, but they were amazing foot spas that just pull out the toxins in your body and have certain colors that mix with the salt, so you know exactly what's coming out. So I did a video on that as well. So check out Chuck Disturbs Wellness and on Instagram, on TikTok, and you'll see those videos. Really, really cool stuff. If you have anything like that in your local area, highly suggest you check it out. And then the magic show was, I love magic. I love comedy. I love magic. I love being wowed. And man, that guy killed it. At the end, we were all looking at each other because we went with some friends, and we were like, how did he do that? What? He literally ended the show with this huge number that we all calculated together on our phones, right? And basically was like, he ended it on like a low note. And we're like, oh, okay, that's cool. And he's like, you think I'm really going to end it that way? He's like, what's today's date? What's the time? And you look at this huge number that was in the millions, right? And it was the exact date and the exact time that he ended the actual show.
Oh my God.
That he literally did random math that people in the crowd were choosing the numbers for, right?
Oh my God.
Random people like, all right, you pick 3 numbers. You pick 4. Come up front and press as many numbers as you want here after he hit subtract. How does that happen? So just being able to witness how, again, it's evidence that magic can happen, right? Of course, he's probably got his own ways of realizing how to make that happen himself. It was soup for the soul and a welcome distraction. It was continuing to put me in a positive mindset place versus what would I get out of Netflix? What would I get out about resting, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I would have to sit there and consume, the positive books and videos that I've been watching to continue to keep my mindset positive. And I do that a lot. So this was a welcome distraction.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. And as I said, like you are looking incredibly fit and healthy. You would never know that 10 days ago you were, under the knife in hospital. So whatever you're doing is certainly working. But like regarding the actual surgery and recovery and everything, like how soon are you able to know the success of or the outcome of the surgery and your recovery going forward?
Yeah, so they want me to follow up with my local specialist about 4 to 6 weeks after, but they don't want any testing done for 3 months.
Okay.
Basically because the testing won't show anything accurate. It will have the CA levels and the calcitonin levels still be high, likely in the next month, the next 2 months. So we'll be testing that blood work in 3 months, and I'll know for sure if that has gone down, which it will, and it has worked. Yeah. I'm willing it into existence.
Absolutely. And then like if we look at the different aspects of your nutrition, your lifestyle, your sleep quality, all of these things that, in some way contribute towards health or ill health, what's your daily regime look like, to ensure that you're giving yourself the absolute best possible chance for full recovery?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ed. So at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single day. I'm more of a night owl, so I do tend to stay up late, but as long as I get my 7 to 8, I'm in the zone. I wake up every morning and do my affirmations, the ones that you heard a few weeks ago, right? Let's see.
Food wise?
Well, I purposely did that pause, Ed, so that you could edit this. I mean, I didn't want to go through and give you I brush my teeth and then I do this. So I'm trying to not get so detailed, which is where my mind is going. Let's see. So yeah, not every day do I get the opportunity to juice because it can get fairly expensive, but several times a week I'll do fresh squeezed juice here at the house. I've been doing lately a lot of beets, a lot of greens with that, apples, oranges, and just trying more and more fresh fruits and vegetables so that way I can have as much of that in my body as I can. I've always found it hard in the past to sit there and eat a whole bowl of mixed vegetables and fruits. It just didn't really quench my appetite, if that's even a word. But yeah, so I love the juicer because it's really allowing me to get tons of nutrients in my body. And I probably would never get that much in there in just a salad. I am almost daily getting to the gym, even with not being able to lift 3 pounds for the next 3 weeks. So I've spent a lot of time in the recovery area, doing a lot of the studio sweat on demand stretches,
Mm.
right? The red light therapy, the massage chairs where they're blasting hot water massage chair on you, the leg compressions things. Those have been great. I've been spending a lot of time doing that and then just really getting my steps in so that way I'm just staying active. So I've been walking 1, 2 miles a day.
Yeah, that's good. So it's more of a like a maintenance to make sure you don't go backwards, just hold where you are now, and then when you're ready to start lifting and going a little bit harder, then it's going to be pretty quick to get back in the game again.
Yeah, exactly. And I've just now actually, one of my things on my to-do list today is to lay out my ideal perfect day. So just been thinking about that recently because, while not working, it's been quite nice to just let things come to me. In that process, I've realized I really want to make sure that every single day that I'm getting everything all of my values and goals that I have, I want to make sure that I'm making progress towards that. And the power of 2%, the compound of small things and just making sure that at least 2%, like I'm focusing on, for example, I want to get closer to Jesus. So I want to read a little bit of scripture every single day. I want to I want to be a better father and husband. So I'm going to watch or read something that helps me with that and learn that every single day. So there's just pieces of my life that I want to improve on and I want to grow a little bit every day on that. So I'm structuring that into my day so that doesn't get missed. I want to end all of my day with gratitude journaling. So, and just structuring that all out and really honing in on what my ideal day is.
Awesome. And actually, before you mentioned watching TV shows and Netflix and things like that, ironically, on the weekends, I had a little bit of free time, so I popped on Netflix and I looked at a few different movies and series, and there seemed to be a common thread in a lot of what's trending right now is shows and movies that have some form of addiction in them, whether it's alcohol, drugs, sex, whatever. And I know last week when we were speaking with Erin, we touched on a little bit of addiction. And then Netflix itself and social media, as we all know, tends to also be in some way a form of addiction as well. And you mentioned to me maybe a couple of weeks ago or a few days ago saying how, you're pretty hardcore into Netflix a while ago, but you've made a transformation into other activities in your life. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about that? How have you made that transformation from Netflix to nature?
Yeah, and I am an admitted Netflixaholic, and here's what changed that. I was scrolling through beloved Instagram, and I found a documentary that popped up as an ad, and it was called The Need to Grow. And I watched this documentary about the reason that we need to grow more of our own food. Here I am, I'm recovering from cancer. I'm already eating a lot more fruits and vegetables, but I'm spending so much money at the grocery store. I have all this information coming my way about how if you don't buy organic, what's being sprayed on the food. So it touched me. It hit me at the exact right time and immediately started helping me realize that I need to grow my own food. How else am I going to control what goes in my body if I don't grow it myself? What's being put on the food that I'm putting in my body, and my wife and my children. So yeah, I'm very passionate about growing my own food where, before that video, before going down this path, the thought of growing my own food, I don't have time for that. I've never grown anything in my life, so not possible. And again, the power of 2%. I'm going to just do a little bit every single day to learn about this. And I'm going to get to the point where, fast forward, I don't know what timeline, I'm not putting any timeline on it, but fast forward, I'm going to have all of the food that my family eats that's not meat related is going to be coming from our backyard. And I'm going to do a little bit at a time. Yeah, that took me, because now obviously there's a lot of videos to watch and to learn that. So that took me out of, all right, I'm done for the day. Let me go ahead and just numb my brain on Netflix, which was my therapy in the last cancer experience. It was, all right, can't take anymore. I'm going to go into La La Land and watch a sci-fi movie. Now it is, let me work on bettering the situation by consuming information like how to figure out how to start growing things in my backyard. And there's a lot to learn. So I'm spending and shifting that time over there versus continuing down the Netflixaholic aspect. And I don't know about you, but how do you feel after watching several hours worth of TV?
Yeah, the legs and muscles are tight, the low back's painful, you feel a little bit depressed. I guess depends on the topic of what you're watching as well, but yeah, and then you look at the time and you think, oh my goodness, half the day's just just vanished. Half, and that's, you got a 2 day weekend and half of it's gone. So yeah, there is an element there of feels good while you're doing it, but there's a little bit of a down feeling when you're finished.
So join me in this Netflixaholic to gardenaholic movement.
Yeah, and you said like you've got a backyard, right? You actually have like land. You can toil the earth and plant stuff into the ground. Is that right?
I have plenty of room to grow a lot of food. My challenge, which is different for everybody, is I have these moles, which are actually tinier than moles, so they're called voles, and they just tunnel the backyard up so much. I've been trying to figure out how to humanely get rid of them for a long, long time. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know. So I'm likely going to have to do like raised beds. So I'm looking into all that. But yeah,
Wow,
plenty of
okay.
space to grow as much as I can. And trying to get into the composting aspect of it. So, when I do juice and I have all this leftover
Wow.
fiber,
Yeah.
yeah, I can put it in the backyard and reuse that and actually have really good soil versus the soil that we buy at Home Depot or Lowe's is full of crap. And then if I'm
Mm.
going to eat that crap, I'm ultimately still I'm not any healthier than going to the grocery store and buying food with pesticides on it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think I mentioned there's a village not far from Guangzhou where we're living right now, where Livia's family and her mum lives, and she raises her own chickens and has fresh eggs every day. Has a lot of farming area where she grows all of the seasonal vegetables, and you reap those every couple of months. Incredible the feeling that you get from having home, not only home cooked food, but home cooked food using homegrown ingredients is like something special. Where we live in the city here, we don't actually have a plot of land. We're in an apartment building, but we do have these little planters outside our windows. So we've put some soil and we grow like some herbs like basil and some little tomatoes and lemon and mint and rosemary and things like that. We use, do some of those smaller things, and chili as well, because we love chili. So we kind of do that here in the city, but in the village, we have some area where we grow vegetables that we like as well, lettuce and cabbage and cauliflower, broccoli. And you know what? The size of these vegetables that grow in the village are like 5 times the size what you'd get when you go to Walmart or supermarket or something to buy, from there, because it's completely organic. The the chicken compost becomes the fertilizer for the vegetables, and these vegetables just grow massive in size and very, very delicious and nutritious.
You're making me jealous. I just spoke to a friend yesterday who lives in the area, and she was telling me that we can actually have our own chicken because I was underneath the impression that it was against city ordinance. So I might look into that as well, because as soon after watching that documentary, I not only did a bunch of research so I can start growing in my backyard, but I also was wanting to look into what type of regenerative farms do I have in my area. I never really researched that before for whatever reason, and there's quite a few. And I went to one the next day and visited it, and they had a nice little storefront with a lot of their foods that were available. Now, a lot of the vegetables aren't growing here yet, so they didn't have a lot to offer there, but they did have fresh chicken eggs.
Mm.
Fresh eggs, right? So they did have fresh eggs from the chicken in the coop in the back in the farm. And I said, well, how much are these per dozen? Because I've heard there's a benefit to eating fresh chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, fresh eggs, fresh chicken in those eggs. Yeah, so I was kind of shocked actually, because it was only $9.50 a dozen. So
Compared to what would you pay in a supermarket in the US?
for fresh, which nothing's fresh in the grocery store, but for free range eggs that were in a farm area, like what do you call that, right? So free ranged eggs, grass fed, is like $14.
Wow, okay. So getting them directly from the chicken that you can actually see on that little farm is cheaper than what you'd pay in the supermarket for so-called free-range eggs. And there is a documentary from the guy that did a documentary called Super Size Me, right? Remember years ago he did the Super Size Me documentary about McDonald's. And then a few years later he did another documentary about raising chickens for like a chicken restaurant. I won't go into too much detail about it, but he showed an example of, for a farm to be qualified as free range, even if there's 10,000 little chicks or chickens under cover inside like a warehouse cooped up, they only need 1 square meter of an outdoor area that has some sunshine to be qualified as a free range farm. So the chickens are free to walk out into that 1 square meter and get some sunshine if they choose to, but most of them don't. But that's the qualification, that the chickens have the freedom to get some sunshine if they want, and it's only 1 square meter.
Yeah, and what are they feeding them too? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So there's so many health benefits of just going to your local regenerative farm, not saying they have chickens, but most of them probably do, and buying eggs from them. I don't know if you know how the egg prices in America have skyrocketed and what caused that. Are you aware of that?
I'm not sure in US. I know in Australia they're facing some similar problems at the moment. It's almost unaffordable for the average family to buy a dozen eggs a week now.
Supposedly there was an outbreak, not sure the exact outbreak, but a disease that was thought to be had outbreaking in chicken. So they had to kill millions of chickens. So when you do that, obviously you have a lot less supply of eggs. So they had to kill so many of them to prevent this outbreak from continuing. And it was right before the new president took over here in the United States.
This is not only a form of like active recovery, right? So obviously you're doing your absolute best to monitor the quality of the nutrition that's going into your body, because that's going to obviously help your immune system and help you recover and prevention for the future. But I guess it's a form of biohacking, right? It's a way to, not only for people that are recovering from surgery or disease or something, but for the average person to be taking steps like this is something that can have an incredible positive impact on your life. Is that right?
Absolutely. Now, here's something that your doctor probably won't tell you. Everybody and everyone has cancer in their body. I didn't know this. And I recently sat in a training for, I'm not sure if you ever heard of Cash Khan. He's really high up in the biohack industry. He has his own company. His company analyzes DNA and specifically caters nutrition, supplements, diagnosis prevention all through the DNA that you specifically have in your body. It makes tons of sense. When you have people that go on YouTube, when you have people that go on Instagram and they have perfected this diet and you should do keto and you should do a vegan diet or you should try all these biohacking things. It has worked. It is working for them, which is why they are preaching to the choir that you should do it and it will work for you. But it only works for them because it's their specific DNA. So what I learned with this training is the reason that cancer survives or is able to thrive in our bodies, because it's in all of our bodies, is because or when you have an immune suppression that's allowing it to thrive. And that immune suppression can be caused by so many things, but also inflammation. If inflammation is high in your body, then ultimately your immune system will be suppressed, and that's what allows cancer cells to thrive. And if you look at my history, what did I have before cancer? I had an autoimmune disease. And that autoimmune disease, what was it caused by? Inflammation, excess inflammation. And what's beautiful about this training is you learn about how not only is it the food that you're putting in your body, but no surprise, it's also about the mindset. Because if you're in fight or flight mode, which you're really in either fight mode, and your body is ultimately trying to fight what is maybe not working in your body, because you're relaxed and you can actually, your body has the energy to take care of whatever's in there that needs to be destroyed. If you're in flight mode because you're constantly stressed out, worried about tomorrow, depressed about yesterday because you didn't do great, then your body is really in a state of inflammation, and that also is causing the ability for cancer to survive. So all the mindset work that I've been doing has been great. All of the nutrition work that I've been doing has been great. But how do I know if it's specifically going to work for me? Now I'm going to go down this path of analyzing my DNA so I can figure out exactly what I want to do or should do for me based on my specific DNA markers.
Yeah, that's interesting. My brother is a genetic scientist and he's expressed a lot of these similar ideas as well. And he talks about, actually, he mentioned something similar, that every human is dying from heart disease. It just depends whether that gets you first before something else. What's the rate of progression of your heart disease? Because when you look at autopsies of a younger healthy person or an older person that was unhealthy, there's a progression of build up inside your arteries of calcification and all of the things that happen inside your body. It's all happening, but at what speed? If you think every day that you wake up, you've got $0 in your bank. When you do something positive, such as maybe you have some healthy fish oils or some homegrown vegetables or something really, really positive, then you've put in $1 or $2 into your bank account. But if you've also, gone to Dunkin' Donuts and had a feast of donuts and some sugary frappuccino or something that people are drinking these days, then that's going to deduct $1 or $2 out of your bank account. At the end of the day, maybe you're at zero, or maybe you're $1 up or $1 down. So after one day, it's only no big difference. People think, it's only $1. But multiply that by 10 days and 10 weeks and 10 years, that adds up to a lot. So those small little incremental 2%ers that you talk about over a long period of time, you have to trust the process that it has a positive effect on your health. And it is helping you to live longer than what you would have if you had not done it. And the negative is also true as well. So just paying attention, if you're just mindful, mindfulness is all about being aware of your environment, yourself, your thoughts, what you're doing at that exact moment. Mindful eating is something that I've worked with on people before. When you're about to eat something, take a look at it and think about, what is this about to do to my body? Is this about to nourish my body in a positive way, or is it something that's going to cause some challenges and make me feel a little bit low, or have an insulin spike or a sugar hit later on? Be mindful of that, and then just pay attention. It's okay to have treats from time to time. We're all human. It's part of life. but just take notice of how often are you doing those things that are positive or negative for you.
Yeah, I mean, look at the common denominator. What do we all want? We all want to be happy. And ultimately, if the food that you're putting in your body is only providing you with temporary happiness, is it worth it? I was at a birthday party yesterday and they had cakes and they had cupcake and they had pizza. I didn't touch any of it. I wanted to, but that was temporary happiness. And I ultimately knew that it would reduce my long term happiness, not only in how I would feel in an hour, but also how that may affect my long term health that I am just dealing with. It's easier actually for me. And I think everyone should get cancer because ultimately, if everyone gets cancer, they're highly likely to start taking this seriously and not make more withdrawals from their health bank account than they should. And they can make easier decisions, or the decisions that they should make every day are easier. They're definitely easier for me. It's more challenging for people who haven't had a diagnosis like myself because they don't have a target. They don't have a mission. They think, oh, just a little bit more. I know I've thought that before too. And ultimately, we don't know what these things are doing to our body and don't know long term that that's actually affecting our happiness.
Yeah,
Difference
exactly.
again, if we think about and repeat this, the difference between health and disease is your inflammation levels and your immune system strength.
Mm,
I had
yeah.
to get cancer twice to hear this and to learn this. And
Mm,
now I'm making sure that others don't have to learn it that way. I'm working towards that. My goal is that so you don't have to learn that way.
yeah.
And prevention isn't about avoiding disease, guys. It's about building a body where disease can't thrive. So I hope that someone hears this message and is able to have that light bulb go off in their minds for them to make the right decision the next time and the next time, the next time after that.
I worked with a cancer hospital in Western Australia. Doctor there, Dr. Robert Newton, is quite famous in the cancer world. And I remember he said a sentence to me one time. He said, cancer cannot live in a highly oxygenated environment. Cancer cannot survive in a highly oxygenated environment. And so he's done a lot of research on the benefits of cardiovascular exercise and VO2 max, like your aerobic capacity, your fitness levels, or people call it your aerobic fitness, your ability to process oxygen, basically. A person with a high VO2 number, such as a Tour de France cyclist, their VO2 might be 60 or 70 or 80, something like that, which means the volume of oxygen uptake, they can process a lot of the oxygen that they're breathing in. And then a really, really unfit person, their VO2 max might be like 20 or 30 or something like that. Very, very poor. So even though they're breathing the same amount of air, they're not able to process as much oxygen out of that air, which means the environment in their body has less oxygen than a highly fit person. So they've done research on this for cancer. One of the recovery protocols that he does at the hospital in Western Australia is aerobic activity for cancer recovering people to oxygenate the body as much as possible. Also putting them in the hyperbaric chambers as well, where they get to oxygenate the body, has been proven to be highly effective as well. And one of the things you just mentioned was about the mindset shift, or the importance of the mind, not only physically, how we're nourishing our body physically, but how we're nourishing our body mentally and emotionally as well. Maybe tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how has that helped you to have this incredible positive attitude this time around compared to a year ago?
Yeah, I think ultimately the biggest difference is talking about it and communicating out loud the thoughts, having it go from right brain to left brain and through it has been the biggest thing. And I've done much more of the practices that I knew before that I should do and I just did not do for whatever reason. So a good example of that would be more meditation. I'm doing more sound healing as well.
Mm.
So not sure if you've ever done that, but that's pretty amazing. Finding the right sounds and frequencies to just put your mind in a state of calm so that I am not in flight mode. My body can start fighting what it needs to do, and really relaxing is probably the best way of saying it. So fight or flight. So ultimately for me too, it's I've tried and attempted in the past to have meditations that were geared towards the law of attraction and being able to bring things into my life that I thought I needed, that I was seeking, that I thought would be the solution to the stresses in my life. And it happens to be money related, right? But one of the things I realized is that in this practice of trying to manifest things into my life, I had an aha moment over the last week when I was doing a guided abundance meditation that I was being very humble, and playing small isn't humble. I was thinking that I was being humble by asking the universe for a small amount that would allow me to temporarily fix some of the stresses in my life instead of a much larger amount that would solve all problems. So I had an aha moment in the middle of a meditation of, oh man, okay, this is probably a disconnect between what I truly needed and what I was asking for. So I would imagine the universe is a little confused when it's trying to figure out what to provide me, right? So actually I'm doing a course right now through Mind Valley. That's the art of manifestation. And that's when they talk also about the power of 2% and the power of 80-20, where 80% of what you are focusing on or should focus on is yourself, and 20% is the actions that you're taking. So learning a lot about myself and also about what it is that I want, as much as I thought that was clear before, it it needs to be even clearer if you're going to manifest it. So yes, to your question, really focusing a lot on myself. As I mentioned before, I read the Happiness Advantage book. That's been amazing. I've been also reading Untethered Soul, which has been really amazing as well. So I'd highly suggest both of those books. And if you don't have a Mind Valley subscription, they're not paying us for this, but we'll take some of that if you guys want to. If Mind Valley, you find us, let us know. But Mind Valley is really cool. That's where I'm finding the sounds, and that's where I'm finding some of the really cool courses, like the art of manifestation, to take to get my mind and continue. Because my mind, I'll admit it, my mind's in a really good spot. And it has been for a while. It's never really veered off very long. I'm able to always get it kind of back. But even those road tours have misalignment with what my goals are. And they've caused me to have more Netflix time. And they've caused me to not continue to keep taking actions towards what my goals are because I was stressed and needed to make sure that I kept my stress levels down. And I thought I was, because of course stress has been a big contributor towards the inflammation in my body, which has caused the cancer. So I'm thinking in the past, Chuck's thinking, well, let's go ahead and all right, I'm stressed out right now. Let me just turn on Netflix for 2 hours and think about something else because I needed to do that for my health. That wasn't productive. It wasn't a good use of time, and it wasn't going to allow me to achieve what I feel like I'm here to achieve on this planet. Mm-hmm. Now I'm shifting that mindset towards every single day and every single minute. I want to be working towards where I'm going in life versus pausing and trying to distract myself.
Yeah. And, the word addiction sometimes can come off as a little bit harsh. People say, oh, no, I'm not addicted to Netflix. I'm not addicted to this and that, or not addicted to coffee. But let's just say, rather than use the word addiction, let's just say, are you spending that time in the most valuable way possible? If you do have 3 hours free on a Saturday morning, what's the best way to use that 3 hours of time, whether it's for relationships, for your family, for your business, for your self-development, for your exercise. There must be a dozen or, many, many other ways that would be better use of time than sitting on a sofa inactive for 3 to 4, possibly more hours. For some of those series now, they go for like 8 to 10 hours, right? And I do believe some people watch them all in a day. So that's pretty extreme.
So one of the really cool things that happened over the last week has been I went to Ash Wednesday service for the first time, and it was a really cool experience. We talked a lot about before how things aren't happening by accident, right? like they are on purpose. It was a very strange experience because prior to going to this church service, as you recall earlier in this episode, I talked about gardening and being ready to do it. I'm going to pull the trigger. I just saw this amazing documentary. I'm ready to go. And I started doing a ton of research. For the first time, I'm ready to do this versus dismissing it. I go to this church service. I don't really know what Ash Wednesday is about or what Lent is. I'm fully open trying to learn. And this pastor stands up there and he gives an analogy of why do we do Lent? And he describes it. He says, I'm not a gardener, but let me use an analogy for gardening, right? And I'm literally in there. I'm like, what? This is crazy, right? Like, so he describes that, you got to get the soil ready, which is our hearts, so that when Jesus does go through his resurrection, which we'll celebrate on Easter, that our hearts are ready for that resurrection. He gave a lot more context to that, but that's the footnotes of it, which I found funny because the gardening was a connection, but I've also, in my lack of knowledge of gardening, my first goal of trying to figure out this gardening thing wasn't to go buy seeds. It wasn't to go buy plants and vegetables already that were grown and just put them in the soil. I was instinctively ready to figure out how to compost so that I could get the right soil so that these vegetables could grow properly. I was already texting my cousin to come over the weekend so that he could help me take the wood that's in the backyard and already turn it into a compost. And my wife's like, why are you starting there? And I'm like, I don't know, but I feel like I need to. And then this church service is talking about getting the soil ready. It's just weird, crazy, amazing coincidences that I think was a sign that I need to follow down this continued path, but also I need to definitely go down this path of growing my own food and that I'm on the right path there.
Yeah, I think there's so many analogies and metaphors that can be taken from gardening and like just gardening in itself. What you reap, you sow. When you do grow something such as vegetables, one thing that I noticed that they do in the village, if they grow pumpkins, for example, a part of the process is gathering those pumpkin seeds from that really successful crop and then preparing those seeds for the next season. So finding the best output or the best crops that you have produced and taking those seeds to then prepare for the next season. You don't take the tiny little pumpkins that didn't grow. You don't take those seeds and replant them for next year. You take the best results that you have experienced. Take those seeds because then they will be built on the following year after that. And I thought just that in itself is incredible, the amount of detail and thought that goes into how do we choose which crops are we going to use as the foundation for next year. And they're growing some incredible, really strange vegetables, like some things that we wouldn't see in Western countries, but highly nutritious, and they have all different types of cooking methods, like soups and roasting and cooking in the woks and everything as well. Like, just there's so much to be learned from watching these elders using the land, working with their hands. And these are people that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and they're doing physical work that most people like us would be tired after an hour. But they're doing it for like 6 to 8 hours a day. I look at Livia's mum as an example. 70, in her 70s already. But the amount of physical work that she's doing every day, oh my goodness, it makes me feel exhausted just watching her. She says, come and help me feed the chickens. I'm like, okay. So I carry the bucket, and then after that, then you got to clean the poo, and then you got to take that poo and use it for fertilizer for the farm, and then you got to toil the soil, and oh my goodness, like it's just never ending. But I think older people that have a real purpose and they have a list of tasks they must do every day, it helps them to live longer. They wake up every day with the mission, and they will not rest until the mission is completed. Compare that to people who do retire after working even in the 60s or early 70s, and they don't have anything to do. Quite often they don't live as long as those people that do.
Yeah, That's what an amazing different mindset to go through versus one person can view that as, "Oh, I have all this work to do. It's, I get great food out of it. Sure, they might appreciate it when the food's there, but that one person's mindset in reality might be, oh gosh, there's so much work to do. I got to do this, I got to do that, and I'm not done yet. I'm only halfway through." Where it sounds like your future mother-in-law, is approaching this, and many that are in the blue zones that live for so long have that sense of purpose and pride in what they do. And they look at this as, this is my job. This is my mission. And I'm now looking at this as, well, yeah, it's a lot of work, but if I want to live a long time and I want to also be around for my grandkids and great grandkids, this is a sense of mission that's going to allow me to live a long time and provide great food for my kids to live a long time.
Yeah. It's trending in the fitness and wellness industry to do functional movements, functional training, functional exercises, functional classes. What is function really? Function is the people in the village or on the farms doing their daily work. That is as functional as it gets. And I'm going to add a little video into this podcast to show one of the days when Mama asked me to help her water the vegetables in the farm. Now, these villages, they don't have hydrating systems that are underground and automatically pop up and sprinkle water onto the vegetables every day. They are doing it by hand, and it's literally like a piece of wood that goes across your shoulders with two buckets with spouts on both sides. These buckets are full. They're not sure the size, maybe 5-gallon each or something. Like, they're super, super heavy. You got to carry these, and then you got to tip them and walk along the garden as you're pouring water out onto it. I'm going to add the video in. It's very, very funny. When my friends saw me doing this, they thought, "Oh my God, that's as functional as it gets." But for me, it was very, very difficult. Just the balance, the stability, controlling the flow, making sure you don't pour it all out in one go. But then watching Mama, who's in her 70s, do it herself, just like a machine. Oh my goodness, just boom, she just like does a whole row in just a minute. For me, it takes 10 minutes to just kind of struggle my way through. So there's a lot to be said for, my hat's off to old school people that work on farms, do physical labor, grow your vegetables, raise your animals. Like, that is the most healthy type of lifestyle you can possibly be living, and you're at the same time producing the food that your family's going to be eating and nourishing with as well.
Yep, absolutely. We need to bottle that all up and figure out how to do it ourselves in your concrete jungle.
Exactly. Well, Chuck, let's talk about maybe the key takeaways, because we do have another episode coming up pretty shortly after this one airs, which is going to be an interesting one. You can give us a preview of that. But what's maybe the 3 takeaways from this episode that you'd like to just highlight for our audience?
Yeah, and I would say the biggest takeaways from today would be that it's all about controlling your health before you need to. I think the biggest aha moment for me, and this sounds silly because I think we all kind of knew this, all of us sort of do know this, is that cancer is alive in all of our bodies, and that our body's fighting it off every single day, and creating an environment that will allow your body to continue to keep fighting that off is really important. And prevention, it isn't about avoiding disease. It's about building your body where disease can't thrive. So let that sink in so that you know that you're in control of this. If something does happen disease-wise, like it did to me, I sort of did that to myself. And that's the unpopular truth there is, yes, there's a lot of crap in the foods, especially in America, that we put in our bodies that we don't know is harming us. And I think we're all waking up to the realization of that, but also we put that in our bodies. So learning about that and making sure that we're in control and we understand that we can control the aspects of whether or not that cancer grows into harmful cancer cells is a big takeaway that I would have from today as well. And just ask yourself, are you doing just enough to put yourself in a health environment that's helpful, or are you pushing it to tomorrow? Or are you doing everything you possibly can do to make your body thrive? I think it's a really important aspect of today's episode.
Yeah, great. I think the top three for me would be if you are happening to watch something online, or you do have a little bit of time where you say, I want to Netflix today, just think about what are you watching? Is this something such as the documentary The Need to Grow that is going to be helpful for you and for your life and for your family and for your future and for your health? It's okay to watch some stuff if it's going to be helping you in a way like that, compared to some of the trash that people watch. The second point I'd like to share is to just grow something, whether it's, a bush of basil on your windowsill, or a little plant of chili or some mint. These are really, really easy to grow. Grow something, because that feeling of nurturing and daily attention to something that is living, that will come back and nourish you, that in itself is chicken soup for your soul, right? It's like really, really good for your mind. And then the last one is look for opportunities to be physical. In our world now, people are looking for, what's the easy way out? How do I take the escalator instead of the stairs? How do I find a machine that does something for me rather than me having to do it myself? Or maybe I get my kids to take the garbage out to the road instead of myself. Rather than looking at that as a hassle or something that you don't want to do, look at it as an opportunity to move your body and do something that's functional and that's actually going to be helping you for your health. So that's the three for me. Thanks, Chuck. And I do believe we have got a really special guest coming up in a couple of days' time. So very shortly on the back of this episode, be sure to watch the episode that's coming up after this. And Chuck, maybe tell us a little bit about this gentleman that we're going to be speaking with.
You are in for a treat. My buddy Alex/Joel, he'll describe why he has two names. It's part of his story. This is my soul brother. This is the young man that has led me to doing ayahuasca, which is also next week as well. So we have talked for the last couple of years very spiritually, and his story is quite amazing. His experience that he had with 2 ayahuasca ceremonies is mind-blowing, and I hope that what you get out of it is not only an amazing story, not only learning a little bit more about ayahuasca, but of course the amazing journey that is discovery, creativity, trying to learn more. Why do we as adults stop trying to learn and discover and try to find out what the meaning of everything is? They did a study, and I learned this at church yesterday. They did a study. I don't know if it was Harvard or somebody else, but they did a study, and they studied children, and they wanted to find out. They studied like 25,000 children, and they wanted to find out how many of them. Oh, it was NASA. Okay, so NASA did a study. They actually created they found that they, like, the more creative people were, they would be able to invent amazing things. So NASA created this formula, and they utilized this formula and tested children. It was a series of questions, right? So they weren't probing children, but they realized that they can calculate someone's level of creativity based on this formula that they created, right? They really wanted to make sure that the people who were bringing in to NASA were really creative, because of course we need creative people there. So they studied all these children, and they found out that children that were 5 years or younger had a 95% score on creativity. Then they tested those same children when they became 10, the same children when they became 15, and they realized that 50% of them got a good score, right? So like 95% of them got really good scores in the first, and when they were 5, and then 50% of them got really good scores. And then at 15, what do you think that number was? It was down to 12%.
Oh my goodness.
12% creates it. So 12% of children that were 15 years old had a lot less interest and ability to be creative. Just 10 years before that, 95% of them scored really well. So what does that tell us? That tells us that as we get older, we just have less questions that we're asking. We have less desire to just have a knowing. And one of the amazing things you'll hear with Alex/Joel is he doesn't stop trying to know and question and discover. And I think that's what you're going to gain out of that.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that. And that's like a rabbit hole we could go way, way deep down on, even including the education system that children are being subjected to as well. So let's discuss that in the next episode. Looking forward to meeting Alex/Joel and hearing his story, and also more about the treatment, which will follow up just a day or two after our next episode. You'll have your own experience as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's we've got some really, really cool stuff coming up. Chuck, let's remind people to
click the follow
and share
subscribe
to your friends and subscribe. And every little bit helps for us. Our channel is slowly growing. Thank you to those people who have been joining and sharing. Every little bit helps. We're two humble guys sharing love with the world, and we hope more people can join the journey together with us. Thank you very much, Chuck, and thank you everyone for joining today, and see you next time.
Adios.